Good afternoon, Executive Committee. I'm here to do a presentation advocating for increased transparency, because I think we all know, and I'm going to remind us through this excellent book, the importance of transparency in a high-functioning democracy. This book is called Governing Ourselves, The Politics of Canadian Communities, and it's a great book that I read in third-year university when I was studying urban planning. And there's some really important quotes in here that I just want to read to everybody about the topic at hand. So, the role of the mayor. In Canada, the mayor elected to office by popular vote is a member of the governing council as well as the head of the municipal corporation. The responsibilities in each of these positions vary somewhat, although the general responsibilities of the mayor remain essentially the same throughout the country. The primary functions are to preside over council and maintain order, act as ceremonial leader of the community, sign all bylaws, and ensure they are carried out, and effectively communicate information to the council, the administration, and citizens. Broadly available information may enhance participation by those who are predisposed in the first case to get involved in local issues, but were dissuaded by the inconvenience of having to go to City Hall or wade through layers of bureaucracy. The type and comprehensiveness of information provided on the city website will demonstrate the government's commitment to facilitate public access. An ability to influence political decisions requires access to important information. Members of the public are at an even greater disadvantage because whatever chance they have of calling governments to account depends considerably on the knowledge of what goes into government decisions. Ideally, good access to information lets citizens find out how governments spend their tax dollars, see whether administrators are following through their own laws and regulations, and discover government incompetence or failure to fulfill its mandate. In practice, however, it's not easy to gain ready access to all information one might want, even assuming one had the time and interest to track it down. Now the question is not so much who has particular information, but who has access to it. Do modern communications give the individual a vastly enlarged and improved array of tools with which to gather information? Is the citizen getting more in touch with governments? Does more accurate and up-to-date information flow freely, and is it readily available on government websites? Alternatively, are citizens becoming more and more alienated because their elected representatives cannot look after the voters as well as they once did? After all, our much larger electoral districts means that those elected must rely increasingly on technocrats and computer-generated information to deal with the public, as well as to make important decisions.
Okay, we're listening.
Uninformed citizens cannot hold governments accountable for their activities, and communications departments can provide the public with important civic information. For citizens to hold governments accountable and to influence the decision processes, they need to be adequately informed about government initiatives. And lastly, as Milner notes, civic literacy is an important prerequisite of a democratic state. Without such knowledge, it is impossible to hold governments accountable. So transparency is a core fundamental of a high-functioning democracy. And there's a real-world application for this. A couple weeks ago, Madam Mayor, you were in the news. News media were saying that you were calling for a boycott of Home Depot. Now, I saw that. I didn't take it at face value. I wanted the full context. I went online and I looked for the live stream that you did on the rotunda for the Pride Parade, and I couldn't find it. So I was reliant on the editorial spin, the media spin of the news media saying, you know, here's Mayor Chow calling for a boycott of Home Depot. Had you live streamed that entire press conference, I could have made my own decisions and not rely on biased media sources. So that's a real-time application on why you as mayor live streaming your press conferences is a good idea. It's good for the electorate, it's good for the citizenry, it's good for everybody in this room, it's good for you. And I would also like to say that I read the report this morning about the costs. That report needs to be scrutinized. $600,000 for full-time employees at $150K a year to just live stream. I could do it for free on my iPhone, and I'm offering that job if you want it. I will come at no charge, I will live stream it free of charge. So thank you very much, and if there's any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Yeah, Councillor?
Thanks very much, Madam Chair, Madam Mayor, and thanks for the deputation. There was a recent Leger poll that came out, and it came out in May, only 50% of Ontarians trust their municipal government. Do you think it's important to have access to the information, the decisions, the announcements, the press conferences, the things that we're talking about here at City Hall? And is it more accessible if it's available on a live stream?
I think it's vital. I think it's absolutely vital to deal with a lot of the problems that we're suffering through right now, which is voter apathy and low voter turnout, which we have to turn the tide for at the next election. Regardless of where you are in the political spectrum, it's It's bad when you have such low voter turnout and apathy. And the way to help turn that around is to make it easy and convenient for citizens to get the information they need without having to rely on a saturated media landscape or editorial or all these news channels that have their own biases and agendas. So if you can go to the source and get the unfiltered information, that will be beneficial to everybody.
You mentioned the $600,000 cost, and that was shocking and striking. It kind of reminded me when the city came out with cost estimates, nearly double the price to remove the bike lanes versus what it was to install them. And so that does need to be scrutinized. Are you aware that this meeting right now, your deputation, is in fact being live streamed?
Yeah, I'm fully aware.
Okay, and are you aware that there is a AV staff and an AV booth right back there facilitating the live stream of this meeting in your deputation?
Yes, I'm fully aware, and they do great work. And I'm sure it wouldn't be too much of an additional burden to just add. Look, maybe if the mayor is doing pressers like far away and you have to drive there, and that's a big hassle. But for any that are happening here at City Hall, just leverage the resources we already have.
Are you aware that there were many press conferences live streamed with the previous mayor from that office, from the members' lounge outside of the council chambers that used existing resources, in-house, existing complement, no additional staff, but that took place for many years. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, I'm aware that Tory, I remember during both Tory terms that he broadcast all his pressers. They were live streamed, and it was a great practice, and the city wants that back.
And are you aware that our deputy mayor, Jennifer McKelvey, when she was serving in that capacity, she also continued the same practice and live stream to press conferences?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know exactly what McKelvey did or didn't do, but I do remember Tory did it, that's for sure.
Very good. Thanks very much. Thanks for the deputation.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Next speaker, Miguel, I don't see you here. Dana McHale.
A point of privilege. The Councillor Bradford visiting the committee has said that there was regular live streaming by the interim mayor, McKelvey, and Mayor Tory, and I believe that that is inaccurate, and I would like to know where the facts come from, and if not, I'd ask the member to retract that comment.
Point of privilege, I disagree with your assertion. And I mean, you can pull up the YouTube channel right now, and you can look at 4 of Deputy Mayor McKelvey's press conferences that are there right now.
Okay.
They're on the YouTube. I understand. So the record, just like this meeting, will live on YouTube. I was asked a question, Madam Mayor. I'm just responding to.
Members, visiting members do not.
Folks, I do
YouTube,
notice that Miguel
Okay.
is there. He's
Live
next
streaming.
on the speakers list, and we'll get to, after the speakers speak, we'll get to clarify who did what and will do what and etc. Okay, Miguel, I think you are first, and then Dana McKeel is next.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to be requesting to share some content on the screen.
Go ahead.
If I'm allowed. I'm not sure if you see my sharing the screen.
Yes, I believe you can share the screen. That we go ahead.
Okay, all right. So I wanted to start by saying that live streaming and press conference has been always a routine that has been always keeping residents of Toronto informed. When I started attending City Hall back in 2010, Mayor David Miller, he had press conferences and live streaming of his meetings, but not at the same degree as we see today, because over the years, it has become popular and a standard in social media. Then we have Mayor Crawford, as you know. He had a problem with some members of the media, journalists who were not happy with him, and he was removing some of those journalists from attending those meetings that he hosts at City Hall. I want you to remember that. I'm sure Paula Fletcher will remember Councilor Perks. And then, of course, we were always tune in to find out what was the next media scrum happening when Mayor Crawford was involved in so many scandals. Then Mayor John Tory came aboard. John Tory, in his first tenure, he did continue with the tradition of reporting from City Council before the start of the meeting, and also as some meetings of city committees. But in the second term, because of COVID, he was more involved in informing the public about the pandemic. Through all this time, there has never been an intention to exclude members of the staff or city councilors or a councilor member from participating on this press conference and live streams media. Mayor Olivia Chow, you are fresh and new, and your style is different, I would say, than the rest of the other mayors. You try your best, as in the report indicate. There has been 4 live streams of your press conference. In regards to the amount of money that is in the supplementary report, I will advise perhaps that the Region Party B, Focus TV could live stream some of those meetings and can engage members of the community, especially the members of our youth. As you know, we want to employ more youth, and it will be beneficial if the Social Development Fund and Financial Administration could provide those funds, because live streaming is a bit expensive, but we can do the job for a quarter of the price estimated on the supplementary report. Again, the process of speaking to City Council before the start of the meeting has been beneficial to understand for many. And with regards to why there is a little bit of voter apathy and a lack of interest on city meetings, it's because of the introduction of the screening table down in the lobby. Since that time, when in 2019 that screening table was set up, a lot of people have stopped coming to City Hall, and they have become engaged in the hybrid mode or online. I preferably like to be in person, because it's important to continue the tradition that I'm here to speak on behalf of those who are less fortunate, with those who can speak for everybody. And I want to bring the message in the meeting and my life experiences to City Hall. Thank you, and I hope you feel better, Olivia, of your call. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Dana?
My name is Dana McKeel. I'm a sport broadcaster based here in Toronto and Media Relations Director for the Downtown Concerned Citizens Organization, representing 58,000 residents and business operators. Thank you for this opportunity to speak in ensuring transparency and accountability in the Mayor's office. A key character of democracy is the continuing responsiveness of the government to the preferences of its citizens. This responsiveness requires transparency so that citizens can know what decisions are being made, by whom, and why. These decisions include the likes of confidentiality policy stemming from the Mayor's office to clandestinely drop a methadone clinic on a women's seniors building at 117 the Esplanade, dropping 24/7 homeless shelters at 629 Adelaide Street West, 81 Elizabeth Street, 2335 Gerrard Street East, along with 5 others across the city.
Pardon?
Bike lanes being dropped on local neighborhoods, being massive
I'm sorry,
opposition. and private.
I just have to stop you.
Sure.
That bike lane decision was made in 2021. I have nothing to do with it. I was not the mayor. So I don't know what it has to do with this item in front of us.
We're talking about transparency of your office, Madam, and
Well, I'm talking about facts.
Sorry, point of order.
Okay,
This,
we'll
the
continue.
item before us
about
is about
facts?
live streaming, not about any kind of historic grievance.
Go ahead. I'll stop and go ahead. Sorry.
no,
to
I'm
interrupt.
I'm going to pull it. These are the facts right here, and the Downtown Concerned Citizens Organization will forensically watch you and watch these city councilors from here on in till next October. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Ian McKinnon, Canadian Media Lawyers Association. I believe you're online.
Yes, can you hear me, Madam Mayor?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Executive Committee. My name is Ian McKinnon, and I'm here on behalf of the Canadian Media Lawyers Association. I'm a board member and past president of the CMLA. The CMLA is the only national association of lawyers who practice media law. Our members represent most of the major media organizations and journalists across Canada, including the journalists and media outlets who are responsible for reporting on matters at Toronto City Hall. One of the CMLA's principal goals is to enlarge and enhance freedom of expression of all Canadians, recognizing that as listeners, viewers, and readers, most people rely on the media to provide them with information on a wide range of matters of public interest. This motion before the committee is critical not only to the ability of journalists to carry out their duties of reporting on City Hall, but also to the ability of members of the public to be informed about and understand the operations of our city government. The Supreme Court of Canada has noted on a number of occasions the importance of the role of the media in a democratic society. Judges have noted that the media play an important role as a public watchdog. The court has also stated that journalists serve as the eyes and ears of the public, who have a right to know what is going on with the government and justice system, but for purely practical reasons can't personally attend all proceedings. In one landmark freedom of expression case, the Supreme Court noted it's the media that by gathering and disseminating news enable members of our society to make an informed assessment of the issues which may significantly affect their lives and well-being. So it is critical for journalists to hold our governments, including the mayor's office, accountable by reporting on important public announcements. So with that in mind, there are 3 good reasons that this motion should be passed. First, the obvious purpose of a press conference is to ensure the widest possible publicity of information and statements made at these press conferences via the news media. The problem is, as everyone knows, the budgets and resources of news organizations have been drastically reduced over the last 20 years. As a result, local news coverage has suffered. Media outlets no longer have the resources to send reporters to every press conference in the city, including those held by the mayor or other political leaders. As a result, the public is being deprived of knowing accurate information about government operations. When physical attendance is not practical or possible, a live stream of the mayor's press conferences would enable media outlets and journalists to accurately report on the actions of City Hall in an effective manner and provide the public with critical information about government that is the lifeblood of a free and democratic society. Second, in this era of so-called, quote, fake news, where allegations of bias and false reporting by the media are rampant, live streaming the mayor's press conferences would allow members of the public, when possible, to witness and understand firsthand the information provided at those events by the mayor. It would also help the public to hold journalists accountable for accurately reporting on the city's operations. The CMLA believes that it would also serve to enhance the credibility of the mayor's office by ensuring that the mayor is keeping the public fully informed of important announcements, even if journalists are unable to report on them. Lastly, the third reason relates to the second part of the motion, that is the requirement that press conferences be available to city councillors and their staff. When the mayor makes an announcement or outlines her position on an issue at a press conference, journalists routinely ask other city councillors about their views and positions on the issues addressed by the mayor. This allows the media to represent various points of view and gives members of the public an opportunity to hear from their elected city councillors on important issues being raised by the mayor. Those questions are often asked shortly after the mayor holds a press conference, and if councillors are not able to attend in person or view a live stream of the mayor's press conferences, they cannot respond to journalists' questions in an informed manner. As a result, the public's knowledge and understanding of the issues will be diminished. Finally, I'd just like to conclude with one final quotation from another important Supreme Court of Canada decision, where they said the following, quote, "There's no doubt that the role of the media in our country is unique. By investigating, questioning, criticizing, and publishing important information, the media contribute to the existence and maintenance of a free and democratic society. The work of journalists requires accountability for decisions and activities, not only from public institutions such as courts, thus helping to fill what has been described as a democratic deficit in the transparency and accountability of such institutions, but also from private sector entities. By contributing to the free flow of information, journalists also help to ensure productive debate on questions of public interest," close quote. The CMLA's view is that live streaming the mayor's important public announcements and providing full access to everyone is necessary to maintain that free flow of information and ensure that there's no democratic deficit in the transparency and accountability of the city's government. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question to you, Mr. McKinnon. I was at a press conference that were organized by the Premier last Friday, I believe, where he provided some funding for us to build housing. there were 15 to 20 of the Ontario government staff that came in to set up the media and live stream it and set up the lighting and et cetera, to set up the teleprompter, et cetera. And it is on the Ontario government YouTube channel. This morning, I came back from another one of the press conference announcing the East Harbour Hub. Again, the Premier's team was there. I have a photo of it, and there was a large number of Ontario government staff that make sure the lighting was fine. Someone was organizing the cameras. I was watching very carefully, knowing that we were about to debate this. There were quite a few staff to make sure that the quality of the press conference was up to par, which then led to the report that is in front of you, which said that if we are to live stream all of the press conferences, it would cost a substantial amount of money. So is that, I'm just wondering, given that it is quite expensive and we do want to pay people good wages because it's a professional job, I don't think we're talking about using iPhones. Are you of an opinion that the City of Toronto, and the Premier's office was not the Premier's team, it was the Ontario government that paid for these kind of live streaming because it is the Ontario government's YouTube channel that have them. Is that something that you would support if it require extra resources, that we would do so to make it happen?
Yeah, Mayor, I did notice that cost estimate from that report. I actually was a little taken aback at how expensive the estimate was. I would have thought in this day and age where you actually can produce quite high quality video on an iPhone. I mean, you can film in 4K on an iPhone these days, that it actually wouldn't cost that much to produce reasonably good quality. Like, again, it doesn't have to be maybe with the standard that the government, the Ontario government produced last week that you're referring to, where they had lighting and spent, it sounds like quite a bit of time and resources setting it up so that it looks good.
And this morning.
And this morning, yeah. I don't think the public and certainly journalists would quibble if the quality wasn't, Hollywood production level. I think one thing we've seen through the pandemic is it used to be, prior to the pandemic, journalists on TV would only do these expensive link ups with interview subjects, and there'd have to be a camera on the other side. They call them double enders, and a camera in the studio, and it had to be TV quality, broadcast quality. But ever since COVID, I've noticed that now interviews are conducted routinely through platforms like this, WebEx, Zoom, and the quality is all over the map. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's jittery, sometimes it's not that good. So I think that public and certainly journalists have learned to lower their expectations in terms of the production qualities of those kind of government streaming or press conferences or interviews. And I look, I haven't looked into it personally, so I can't speak. I don't have firsthand knowledge about the costs, but it struck me as very, very high cost, and it could be done much more cheaply than what was estimated in that report.
Yeah, but if it is, because media sometimes takes clips from it, and if it is done in a poor quality, it is a problem, which is why I'm just on the Ontario government YouTube channel and looking at the videos. They are of all very high quality, and I just looking at it. And so if we are,
and I don't know what the expenses that they do to that. It may be in that ballpark that was estimated in the report. My only point is I don't think it necessarily has to involve that kind of expense and the highest level of production quality. I think people would be would appreciate just the fact that the content and the streaming is there and pay less attention to whether the quality is of the highest value. But these days you can, Hollywood movies are shot on iPhones sometimes these days, independent movies.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions to the deputant? Councillor?
Thanks very much for the deputation, Ian. Are you aware that you're on a live stream right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so would it be possible, because I thought those costs were astronomical as well, would it be possible then, if the mayor was really concerned about the budget and the costs, I don't know, maybe we could just do the press conferences right here in this room, in this public building, where we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different cameras and an AV room here, and obviously the capacity to do live streaming because, we're live streaming right now. I'm not sure that's the perfect solution, but would that be something that the mayor could look into?
Yeah, and it would be something I know that journalists would appreciate, because it's more the content, not the level of production and the medium. It's really, the fact that they have the ability to hear what the mayor has to say. So yeah. I mean, look, I have to believe that that can be done at a reasonably good quality, at a fraction of the estimate that was provided.
Okay. Now, in your deputation, you made an interesting point. You focused on the second half of my motion there, which talked about access for other councillors, elected officials to these briefings, to these press conferences from the mayor. You made the point that when the mayor calls a press conference, in theory anyways, it's because she wants the wide dissemination of the information. She has deemed this so important that she wants to invite our friends from the media to connect with Torontonians to share that information. The second part of that motion responds to something that I'll address in my comments, but why do you think a mayor or any elected official wouldn't want council colleagues or other folks from the elected body to attend one of their press conferences? Doesn't that seem strange?
Yeah, it was very odd to me that that second part of the motion was even necessary. I can't think of any reason why a fellow councillor could not attend a media availability or press conference. That was a bit puzzling to me. There may be a good reason for it, but not anything that I could figure out myself. And as you mentioned, it is fairly important for journalists to then be able to canvass other opinions about what the mayor says or announces at a press conference. And if another councillor isn't even aware of what the mayor has said because they can't attend, then that's a real problem for a journalist.
Fair enough. Thanks for your deputation. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, one little, sorry, Councillor.
Okay, Councillor
I
Fletcher,
just have
go
one
ahead.
question. I'm just questioning, are
Question.
you here, is this the position of the Canadian Media Lawyers Association? Or are you just here with your own thoughts, Ian?
I'm here on behalf of the Canadian Media Lawyers Association.
This is your formal opinion. Thank you.
Yes.
Councillor
Quick
Bravo?
follow-up. There are 444 municipalities in Ontario. I'm wondering whether you have the same position with all the other municipalities, and if that would include school boards in addition, because if you're saying that we need this kind of access to have transparency and trust in government, wouldn't that be equal across the province?
Obviously, the more access, the better to any public institution, announcements, or press conference. So yes, whatever could be accomplished by any local government or school board that can be achieved within their resources, then yes, for sure.
I would suggest that the campaign then be destined to the provincial government, because the resources that would be required are certainly at that level of government. And I would say that they spend millions on their public communications. Thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. Okay. Since, question to staff? Go ahead. Councillor Bradford, since you are not from this committee, do you have any question to staff?
I do, yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. Thanks for having me today. To our Chief Communications Officer, just want to confirm, there's a live stream of this committee meeting happening right now, is that correct?
Yes, there is.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
there
you.
is.
And is it city staff that made that possible?
I believe there is an AV team. There are several AV teams.
City of Toronto employees that work here already, that
Correct.
are actually working here right now. Okay. Between 2020 and 2023, the previous mayor and the acting deputy mayor, I guess she was acting mayor, she was the deputy mayor, live stream press conferences and media availabilities that took place in the mayor's office and the members' lounge. Is that correct?
Yes, they are posted on the YouTube channel today.
Okay. There were also live stream press conferences and media availabilities held by Deputy Mayor Jennifer McKelvey when she was acting. Can you confirm that as well?
Exist on the YouTube channel today.
Right.
That is not to say that, it's important to note that it's important to say that not all of these were necessarily supported by city staff.
I'm going to get to that. I'll ask you about that and then you can get into it. You've not been asked to do so, to support that effort by the current mayor's office, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I've not been asked to support.
Live streaming of press conferences by the current mayor's office.
There actually have been 4 instances over the last year when we have been asked to live stream content.
Which city departments were responsible for live streaming the press conferences and media availabilities under the Tory administration?
I can tell you that under the Tory administration, both the AV team and the communications team streamed on average, outside of COVID content, to be fair, outside of
Well, give us all of it, because that was kind of the world that we were living in.
there were only 4 in those years. Each year, there were only 4.
How many press conferences did you do Not you, because you just got here 3 months ago. How many did you do during the COVID years? Live stream press conferences?
I have not added all of them up on the YouTube channel. I can tell you that the ones that were streamed that were not COVID-ing content through our teams were, through the chair, where they were 4.
Okay, that's not my question, so thank you. Does anyone want to answer that? City manager? How many?
Mayor, I don't know how many. There were many more.
Many.
As part of a emergency response, not as a part of live streaming.
Did city staff do it?
mayor press conferences, and yes, as part of the pandemic response.
Okay, very good. To arrive at the costing of $600,000, what was included in that price tag?
To the chair, it's a combination of communications as well as technical AV staff to support.
How many staff?
Total of 4.
How many are working right now to live stream this broadcast?
There's at any given time between 1 to 2 individuals working right now.
Okay, so AV staff, equipment above and beyond what exists here? Is there an equipment cost in that? No, no equipment.
We did not include an equipment cost. I'll note the difference between being in this room versus being out at media events is the setup as well as the takedown of equipment, which is why it is more labor intensive.
Okay, and you also included the cost of a new vehicle?
We did. If we're going out on the road, there was a vehicle cost included as well.
Okay, so if it was just at City Hall for the 18 events that take place, if you include executive committee and council, you don't think the number would be $600,000 for additional staff and a vehicle?
To the chair, it wouldn't be $600,000. We would have to look at the volume of events. It would be just labor cost.
Okay. What was the budget line number this year for SPEC, or corporate communications? What's the total budget? Maybe to the CFO.
To the mayor, the total budget for strategic communications was 12.4 million gross and 10.9 million net.
12.4 million gross in the budget this year for SPEC. What about CTO, the budget this year for technology services?
On the operating budget, 200 million gross and 140 million net.
A lot of money. What about the mayor's office annual budget?
3.1 million, both gross and net.
Okay. And theoretically, if we were super concerned about the costs and hiring additional staff, could the mayor choose to have the costs for live streaming press conferences, her press conferences, come out of her office budget if she wanted to?
To the mayor, as is true for all budgets, there's a level of discretion in terms of how you would allocate funds to carry out your duties.
Okay. I'll leave it there with my questions. Thank you.
Other question to staff? Councillor Matlow.
Before 2020, before COVID, did Mayor Tory have a practice of having routine live stream press conferences? Anyone know? No.
Don't badger him, Gord. Don't badger him.
I'm not hearing any answers, so I'm not.
So Mayor, no one has an answer for you. We can do a bit of research if you'd like and get back to you offline. But
I think the corporate communication has a...
To the mayor, I have looked into this. Prior to 2020, these services were not supported through either the AV team or through the communications arm.
And then aside from specific COVID emergency related press conferences, what essentially was the nature of any press conference that Mayor Tory did hold where it would be live streamed? Like, was it about an announcement about transportation or something? Or like, what would it be?
Through the chair, I can confirm that the live streamed events that the city supported had to do with large city priorities. There were, as I mentioned, there were approximately 4. There were only 4 in each year predominantly. Those were large priorities at the time: transportation, roads, housing, budget. In the last 12 months, for example, they were around the 4 that have happened. 3 of them were around labor negotiations, for example.
Now, taking away any of the dynamics in this debate, objectively speaking, is this a good idea? It doesn't matter what mayor is in the office today or what mayor has been in the office before. Is this a practice that other municipalities often do? And is this a good idea? And would it be good for transparency and accountability? And does staff have a position on that, objectively?
So Mayor, I think we'd have to take that away, for instance, and do some research. We didn't, for the supplemental report, have a comprehensive look at other municipalities and what it is. We, as a city, try and in major pieces, and obviously with meetings and things like that for the public record, we ensure that there is that public record for it. And there have been instances where key communications through press events are done The ones that are stored, it's also important to note, do meet an AODA requirement around the post-production. So while the filming happens, it's also post-production that we do. So, you know, I think in terms of a position of its value, given we would have to look at what the size and scope is. So I think we'd require a bit of direction before we come back with our opinion on whether this is a smart idea. If it is to cover every single thing that happens, it's a heavy cost and it's a lot of work for somebody to do, and it's our staff that need to do it. If it's a strategic approach to it, which is kind of what we've been doing recently, we obviously feel there's value in it because some of these things each and every year have been placed online.
I hate to ask you this, but given the fact that this item was going to be on an executive committee agenda, why wasn't some of that work done and evaluated to inform us today? Given that we're, again, aside from the politics and all that kind of stuff, but like genuinely, if we are considering the merit of live streaming, why wouldn't we have some information to consider about that? Like, for example, I believe I could go, if I want to do a press conference like right after this meeting, I believe I could go out and put a tripod up and put my iPhone on there and do a pretty good job with the free app or Insta or whatever. But I'd also like to know, like, is this the convention in big cities around North America, around the world? Is this something that's normal? What should I be expecting? I just don't believe we have that information in front of us.
So, Mayor, we don't. And so today's piece would be to give us additional work. We had a lot of things to produce in order for today, some of which came at the last council, including, you know, this piece when it came. So, yeah, more work can be done. We're happy to take direction from this committee.
And work to bring down that,
and as I say,
price tag as well.
Yeah, that's about scoping. So we could bring back pieces that say if it's this amount, fine. And as you see, if we're doing one a quarter, maybe a couple a quarter, that's absorbed within our current budget. If we're looking at, on average, what this current mayor has done is 225 press events of any kind, that would require the kind of resourcing that is within the supplemental report. So we would have to go away and do more work. So I think it really was a timing issue. If we had been given 2 or 3 more months to bring back some information, we would have had a different set of information for you today.
Next question. Councillor Carroll.
It's just a quick question to hear what we're looking at here. All that's in front of us right now is a referral from council. Like, we could have zero information and city staff would still be bang on because we haven't asked them to do anything yet. They've actually done more than we've asked them to do because we've asked them to do zero. So is that the case? It's still at the stage of this is a referral to this agenda. They don't have to have had any information ready for today.
That's correct, Mayor. And as I say, we felt it was important to provide some context for it, but you're right. We didn't, you know, we provided what we have today as a supplemental report, really as a way of also seeking whether this committee and then council would want us to do further work and bring this back.
Right. But at this point, what you've provided us is above and beyond because we've only directed, all council has said is we would like this motion to go to executive.
Correct.
That's all we've said so far. Okay, thank you.
Any other question to staff? If not, Councillor Bradford, Councillor Perks, who else wants to speak on this item? Councillor Matlow. Councillor Bradford, we are ready for you. And by the way, members of council, you've seen the letter that I've circulated. It's in your package. Oh, okay. It's just on the agenda. If you open up the item,
Right.
there's correspondence in there, one of which is from me.
Okay, fabulous. Well, thank you, Madam Mayor and colleagues, and thanks for having me into executive today to talk about transparency and accountability here at City Hall and access to information. Thanks to the deputants that joined us in the room, the people who connected online. I see Councillor Ainsley has now moved online. He's in the room as well. I'm actually live streaming my remarks right now to illustrate how simple this is to do. And I know a lot of folks talk about the quality and the technology, but I think it's pretty routine. If I tune into CTV Toronto, CBC National News, you see folks joining from Zoom, you see folks doing it from iPhone. It's really amazing the era of technology that we live in now and how it's able to connect us. And again, provide people with the information that they are so desperately needing. I want to give some background for colleagues because I didn't have an opportunity to talk about this at council on how we got here, because it is a bit of a strange item, and I think a lot of this, as Councillor Matlow sort of alluded to, this is a good idea. And in 2025, it should be standard operating procedure. And I think a lot of us would be nodding our head saying we want more transparency, more accessibility, more accountability from elected officials at every level of government. I was hoping to discuss this with folks at council last month, but that's how it ended up here at committee because it didn't waive referral. Now, for background, for a number of months, my staff, my office, we were attending the mayor's press conferences ahead of council and ahead of executive committee, the ones that she holds in the protocol lounge outside of her office. And, you know, as we heard from Ian, one of the deputants, that is our job as elected officials to make sure that we know what's going on and so we can communicate with our residents and advocate for positions here at City Hall. But on April 23rd, one of my team members was removed by the mayor's deputy chief of staff who said, quote, "Some councilors' offices are allowed, but you aren't." I thought that was chilling. I thought that was unfortunate. On May 13th, we went back, and another member from my office was removed, followed by an email to my chief of staff explaining that they're not permitted. I've seen the mayor's correspondence and how that's very carefully worded on this item. But we followed up. Less than an hour later, we wrote back this individual, the mayor's deputy chief of staff, seeking approval for one of my team members or myself to attend the mayor's future press conferences. That email was more than a month ago, and we still haven't received a reply. So I'm hopeful with your correspondence today that that's going to change. I'm hopeful that we set a new precedent where we increase the transparency and the accountability, and we're bringing the information that Torontonians desperately want to hear from you, the leader of the city, and that we make that more accessible. But it's really not about one individual councillor. It's about all Torontonians at a time when there's never been less trust in local government. According to a Leger poll, less than 50% of Ontarians trust local government. And, you know, I'm not surprised because there's so much going on in the world. There's so much misinformation. There's so much spin. Sometimes it can be difficult to get the facts. Sometimes it's difficult to even get the story straight. And I think we heard, you know, it was alluded to in one of the deputations earlier about Home Depot and comments that were made in one location and comments that were made on a radio show in another location. Look, it's a tough job. There's a lot of different things going on. But people have a right to understand and follow the decision-making and the announcements here at City Hall. And if people are uncomfortable with this deputation and what I'm saying, we should really do a check on that, because what I'm asking for, what Torontonians are asking for, is not unreasonable. It's not unprecedented. It is the standard operating procedure in cities like Ottawa, in cities like Hamilton. This stuff happens all the time. We're not talking about the provincial or federal government. We're talking about other municipalities here in the province of Ontario. And I just think Toronto should always aim to be the best. We're the biggest. You heard those budget line numbers, you know, $200 million operating budgets, $3 million operating budget in the mayor's office alone. And despite folks wanting to parse out the difference between COVID press conferences, which, by the way, I'll remind folks that were here, that was like a full 2 years of last term, 47 of them were done. 47 live stream press conferences were done. 4 were done under Jennifer McKelvey when she was serving as acting mayor. And we have the very capacity in this room to do it right now. So I do not support spending $600,000 buying several new vehicles, standing up new staff teams, when we got 4 cameras and live stream capacity here in this room right now, and fantastic AV staff that do this better than anybody else in the business. So I think we should all just move forward. It's regrettable that this had to come to executive, but it's never too late to do the right thing. I'd love to see this happening on a go-forward basis, and certainly support the mayor taking the lead on that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Perks to speak.
Madam Chair, Madam Mayor, I'll be supporting your motion and not the recommendations that Councillor Bradford actually have. Sometimes you just have to take a step back and shake your head. There's a suggestion being made that Torontonians aren't getting enough information about how we make decisions. I just did a check. This month, we live streamed 47 committee meetings. 47 committee meetings plus council. We have 185 planning staff who typically will do at least 1, sometimes 2 community meetings, either in person or online, every month. There are not enough hours in the day for someone to watch all the material that we live stream. Just not possible. So someone suggesting that there's a voter out there who's information starved and simply can't get access to how we make decisions here is someone who's simply unaware of the facts or choosing not to acknowledge the facts. And that's disappointing. There's also a suggestion. Another thing worth noting is there's this idea that everything the mayor can do can be live streamed simply. Mayor Chow, the last time you and I did a press conference together, we were standing in the middle of a construction site with shovels and hard hats on. It would have taken quite a bit of money, and yeah, you would have needed some equipment to set up and someone to drive it there for that to have been live streamed. However, there were reporters there, and there were people who captured clips, and they made it onto my webpage and yours, and they made it into the news. If anyone wants to know what we said there, it's all a matter of public record. There is no elected official in the country who gets more coverage in a day in front of the press answering questions than the Mayor of Toronto, and that's always been true. The heads of parliaments have short, scripted press conferences. Every member of the government side is given talking points from the Prime Minister or the Premier's office. There's nowhere else where all of the deliberations of the Executive Council, which in law, by the way, is all of City Council, is live and available. The Executive Councils and legislatures all take place behind closed doors, in camera, in secret. It is disingenuous, it is false, it is inaccurate, it is misleading, it is the very thing that Councillor Bradford talked about, where people can't trust information, to suggest that this is not the most transparent and open government in the country. Now, it may be that, that's not satisfying to some. It may be that, maybe there's some niche stuff. Maybe we should open up a YouTube channel. Mayor Chow goes kayaking. Or, Budget Chief Carroll eats her lunch. Or Deputy Mayor Cole, every time he throws up his hands in despair, that should be posted on TikTok. But I don't think people want us to plant nanny cams on the mayor or any other member of council. I don't think people are particularly concerned with catching every breath and nuance of every one of the 240 media appearances the mayor makes in a year. I think rather what they want is exactly what we provide, a live streamed and yes, posted and recorded forever record of every decision-making meeting we have of every committee, agency, board, and council, except where we go in camera on legally required stuff, where we're doing a real estate transaction, getting advice from the solicitor, which could put us in legal jeopardy, or discussing the private information of an individual. You gotta shake your head, folks. You gotta shake your head. I guess one of the other channels should be Councillor Bradford Rage Farms on Twitter, because that's essentially all we're doing here today. We're engaging in rage farming, and it's exhausting. And that's not what voters in Toronto or citizens in Toronto want. They want to watch us deliberate on things that matter to them.
Madam Mayor, point of personal privilege?
Just 1 second.
I think she'll do it. I was impugned there, Madam Mayor, to suggest that I'm engaging in rage farming on Twitter. What I'm engaging is trying to bring more transparency and accountability to City Hall.
Okay.
The mental gymnastics that Board Perks is going through right now
sort it out,
to try
have a conversation.
is quite remarkable. But I was impugned, and I just wanted to correct the record. That's not what I'm engaging in. I'm engaging in more transparency
Whatever
and
it is,
accessibility to
Councillor
City Hall.
Matlow has the floor.
Thank you, ma'am.
I mean, that actually sort of leads very well into where I was about to begin. Sadly, because when I first saw this member's motion come to the floor, come to council on the agenda, I did perceive it. I'm
sorry. Okay. Yep. Go ahead.
Please, yeah.
Sorry,
I did perceive it as Councillor Bradford making a point toward the mayor, and maybe there's some of that, maybe there's not, and that's his prerogative. But when I just think of it, when I look at it just objectively, like get rid of the politics, who's bringing this to council and who's being attacked or who's not being attacked. If you just look at the actual question, is it good to live stream mayoral press conferences? Should, frankly, and I know this is delicate, but should a mayor's office, when they do a press conference on something of public interest to all, should they restrict any member of council from being able to attend? I think we need to grapple with these things. All of us will have a mayor who we work with and get along with at times, and I speak from personal experience, it can be quite the contrary at times too. And so I believe that live streaming a press conference and making it accessible and transparent is a good idea. I would like to know what other jurisdictions are doing. I would like to know what the convention is. I would like to know how they do it, if they do it, and how they can do it at a reasonable cost. I don't accept that this should cost $600,000 given the technology that I know exists, and I do believe that we should be creative to find a way to do it in a more efficient manner. If we want to, if we choose to, I believe that we can figure that out. It's incredible what this place can figure out when they choose to do it. And moreover, I hope that staff will, I know we didn't ask them to do this in preparation for this meeting, but I think some of the questions that I asked are not a stretch. Like, I think it's actually, these are like basic things that we should be able to understand when we're deliberating whether or not we should support live streaming mayoral press conferences. So I'll conclude by just reiterating, if we're able to, and I know it's hard to in this place, if we're able to take the politics out of it just for a moment and really just consider the question, is live streaming a good tool to use to promote transparency and accountability? That should be the question. And should any member of council be excluded from press conferences that are of a greater public interest? We need to grapple with that. I will say that just like, we shouldn't be judging the bringer of the motion in that way, the way that I did, admittedly, I also want to, acknowledge 225 press availabilities by the mayor also demonstrates a willingness and interest to be out there and be accessible to the media as well. So it shouldn't be a judgment of anyone. In this case, it should be, is this a good tool? Do we want to use it? And then how do we do it at a reasonable price?
I'll move the motion in front of you. Maybe the staff can put it up. I did just return this morning from a press conference organized by the Ontario government. And it was, excuse me? What do you need? I'm sorry? Just. What? Pardon?
So I'm just going to look at this. Don't worry. Sorry. My apologies.
What?
No, there's a problem with the timer.
Oh, the problem with the timer.
Yeah, that's not showing on WebEx.
Oh, okay. Well, don't worry. I think we're almost done, right? It's okay. Yeah? Okay, but I can start. Okay. It was a bit strange, but anyway. Here we are saying that we are a good level of government, deserve of respect. If you look at what the Ontario government, I'm not talking about the Premier's office, okay? You know what they do? They come in at any press conference, and because Premier Ford has arrived at this place to have a press conference, yes, they bring in 10 to 20 staff. Now that's maybe a bit over the top. They put in the backdrop, the lighting, and the video and the sound, and they record. Yes, they do live stream. And I was at another event. Now this one is inside. This morning, it was at a transit hub. It was big. It was, in terms of location, it was outdoor. And there were a large number of staff because it was outdoor. I could not count how many staff there were. And it was more than just one and more than just two. And I heard someone recommended that perhaps we can do it on an iPhone, for God's sake. We are the biggest city of Canada. We're the fastest growing in North America. Our budget is large. And if any other smaller, provincial government, and when they do the recording, and yes, maybe some of them do live stream, I don't know, and they have a certain quality of it. And you are saying that we should be lower quality than that? I don't think so. We should not be inferior. In this place, this government, we need to, if we're going to live stream it needs to be done properly. Can't just run around with whatever, iPhone. We could try to do that, but I can't guarantee there will be a good sound and good material. So if we are to do a live stream, we should do it properly, and it should be made available to other councillors. So for example, if our budget chief have a press conference, then the budget chief should be able to access the City of Toronto press conferences. The chief have an entire studio room, and he has an editing room, right? He has an entire system. I think Councillor Carroll can tell us what the Police Service Board and the police chief has, and is substantially larger than our corporate communication, okay? So if we are saying, and the same would go to other ABCs, if we're saying that we want to live stream all, or even the significant one, the bigger ones, right? Let's say 15 a year or 20 a year, or even 30, 50, not necessarily, or 200, not necessarily my scrum, then we should invest it. And our staff said it is 600,000. I'll guarantee you it's probably a fraction of what the Ontario government is doing, or any, maybe Manitoba government, which is smaller than we are. The recommendation in front of you is a bit of like, let's try. Let's do what we can in the existing resources. And it would mean that there will be a few, right? 3 or 4, maybe 5, I don't know what we can afford. But I refuse to actually lower the quality of our production. And if you look at the equipment of what excuse me, councillors? I refuse to lower the quality of our production value in order to accommodate any kind of, if we're going to do it, we do it properly. The other thing is this. We need to have a discussion at what point, how many, or what kind, right? We need to talk about that. And also, the question of what equipment, because I look at the equipment that we have in the City of Toronto. If you look at the New Year's Eve broadcast, for example, the quality is not as high as, say, the Ontario government. Our equipment right here in the City of Toronto, comparing to what the Ontario government has or other levels of government have, is much older, significant older, much fewer in terms of the numbers of cameras we have. So we probably should upgrade ourselves and be able to have a better quality, because certainly in terms of the teleprompter, the cameras, the sound, the backlighting, all of that is very old. And if we're going to do something, let's do it properly. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Mayor, I didn't get a chance to speak, and I'll only take a couple of minutes. I'm walking down the street. May I?
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. I've been listening to the comments, and I think it's incumbent on me to say that when we make policy, one of the first things we should be asking ourselves is, what is the problem that we're trying to solve? It's been posited here as a problem of accountability and transparency, but I think it's been established that no matter what the Mayor of Toronto says at any press conference, the decisions are ultimately made in committee and at council. They can be openly debated and considered with the benefit of public deputations at committee. This is easily the most accessible and transparent order of government in Canada. And I think one of the reasons that there's a decline in trust in governments is the continual running down of government by elected officials. So I want to just start by saying that we have to be very careful when we accept the notion that there's a problem of transparency and accountability here. Secondly, we have a lot of other problems. So today we talked about the need to build more housing. We talked about all of the resources and all of the services that are needed in communities, so many other items. Right now we have a campaign that I would love to see scaled up to put your dog on a leash. We have significant and important new bylaws coming July 2nd. One that limits capacity to protest, and the other one that's about rent evictions. It's the same people that are going to be studying, investing, and proposing solutions. And I think we should get real with what people in the city really need and are asking for is clarity around existing bylaws and programs. And so I would really hope that everyone takes a good look at the discourse that's being promoted here. The Leger poll that I hope we're referring to the same one of May 25th found that actually the trust in city government is about equal to federal government. It's a little higher than provincial. Can't conflate general loss of trust, which has been declining over decades in every Western democracy, with the fact that the mayor went to a press conference and didn't live stream it. Because if the problem we're trying to solve is to have uphold the capacity of individual members of council to constitute a good and credible opposition, that's a very different matter. We can all find out what was said and done through the media, but ultimately we can debate it on the floor of council and vote in the public. So I regret that we have to consider this, and I think that we should be very careful with how we run down what we do together, which is right now being live streamed and captured and is being done with the benefit of public input and in public. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carroll.
Oh, I just want to quickly give everybody a blast from the past. And it's interesting that this is coming forward from councillors outside the executive, and I hope we can remember that as we go forward. Because a long time ago, in 2009, placed in our 2010 budget was a request to create a better media studio, one that our camera media have been asking for years so that they don't have to run cable and plug it in down halls hither and yon and across the media gallery upstairs, with real plugins and a real media studio that could be used by the mayor and I dare say committee chairs and whomever. And it was proposed at the time, along with some minor renovations that were needed in the mayor's office. The total budget budget would have been $2 million to do all of the above and the movement of some clerks to another one of the glass houses. And it was used for media fodder for 2 months by Ms. Sue Ann Levy and then opposition councillor Denzel Minnan-Wong, and it was canceled. And even after it was canceled, people continued to say, how dare he spend that $2 million on a media studio? Said media studio never happened, doesn't exist, whole thing was canceled, but everyone had a great hullabaloo. So perhaps for once we will do what camera media and tech media have been asking for in this building for now 18 years. Maybe it'll happen this time because it's coming, the request is coming from outside the mayor's office. Maybe it's actually going to happen this time. And then you will actually be on par with the studio that is available to camera media when they go to police headquarters. and I say I applaud doing it. Right now, a candidate for mayor of New York City is being detained and dragged out of a federal court building by ICE for the crime of trying to help an immigrant, and that's the kind of thing that needs to be covered. As regards what goes on in this room, all my constituents want us to do is cut the grass.
Yeah, cut the
Folks, any other speaker on this item? Any other item on this? Folks, no other speaker? Okay. Yes, motion in front of you. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carry, thank you. Item as amended. Oh, nope, that is the item. Okay, thank you.